Folks, thanks a lot for the 60,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. But we're not stopping here. Let's push it, folks, to 100,000 subscribers, so give that support to the channel and subscribe, and hit that like button down below to reach our goal of 150 likes, and now let's go for it. In the first scene of Windbreaker, a boy is walking on a tightrope inside his mind as traumatic memories invade his nightmare when he was rejected for being who he was at school, for not having anyone to take care of him, or for his strange appearance. His eyes and hair disgusted society, and this isolation led the young man to the darkest depths of his suffering. When he finally wakes up, he feels anger as a consequence of this isolation. In the commercial district of Tampu, children played joyfully on the streets on a pleasant morning, while the rejected young man philosophizes alone that he only cares about the strongest, never the weak. In a quiet street, a group of cowards surrounds a girl, threatening to smash the eggs she bought into the leader's face if they don't leave soon, but she won't do it because it's a waste of food. The leader of the bullies mocks the fact that she likes strong girls, while grabbing the girl's wrists as she tries to leave. Meanwhile, the rejected young man reflects that guys who are weak but think they're strong are the most despicable, and soon encounters a bunch of such guys and asks them to stop bothering the girl. The tallest boy doesn't like the intrusion and tries to punch him, but the young man with strange eyes shows the disgust he feels for bullies of that kind and finishes off a whole gang in the blink of an eye. Not satisfied with the beating, he grabs the leader by the collar and tells him never to forget his name, then says he's Haruka Sakura from Furin High School, the one the weak should avoid and the strong should seek out. With the problem solved, Sakura walks away as if nothing had happened. Then the girl who was saved goes after him and thanks him for the help. Strangely, Sakura takes a few seconds to realize she's talking to him, then loses his temper and says that saving her wasn't his intention, showing his lack of social skills. Confused, the girl asks if he's hungry. He refuses. However, in the next scene, he ends up being taken to the diner where the girl works, and getting to know the boy a bit more, she finds out he's from out of town and remarks it's rare to see people moving to this city. Until recently, this place had a reputation for constant gang fights and organized crime, so it wasn't exactly a destination people wanted to move to. In fact, she herself, who introduces herself as Tachibana Kotoha, wasn't born in this city. During this conversation, Sakura wonders why this girl is being so friendly with him, since he's used to being feared by others, especially after beating up 5 guys in front of her. Seeing that the guy was lost in thought, Kotoha suggests he try the omurice, and upon tasting the dish, it was love at first bite, even though Sakura was disappointed to find out they don't deliver food home. Lowering the guard of the irritated boy, she brings up his appearance, asking if he wears colored contacts or dyes his hair. Sakura immediately frowns, but Kotoha shamelessly examines his strange marble-like eye up close. Sakura backs off from the advance and challenges the girl to a fight because people always make fun of his appearance. However, Kotoha likes Sakura's look and recalls with a hand gesture that she once saw a boy with very different hair. Sakura emphasizes that appearance doesn't matter in a fight, which is why he joined Furin, where the weakest and most powerful reside, with daily faction wars that uphold the law of the jungle. Whether it's Christmas or International Peace Day, it's all-out brawl at Furin, and that's where Sakura intends to reach the top. Kotoha comments that the guy is talking tough, but he corrects her by saying it's quite the opposite, a bunch of degenerates in an endless battle to crown the worst of the worst. The girl admits the young man is dedicated and must be eager to start studying since he's already in uniform, even though classes don't start until tomorrow. Sakura is outraged by the blessed girl's pathetic understanding of Furin High School's real nature, so he asks her to settle things outside. However, the friendly Mr. Yama interrupts the boy's tantrum and thanks Kotoha for the meal as he heads for the exit, and Sakura has the decency to hand over a package the old man had forgotten. As a reward, the old man left some sweets for the young man because that bag was a gift for his grandson. But Sakura's traumas prevent him from understanding why someone would be kind to a strange kid wearing a delinquent uniform. Just to show you the suffering he goes through, once Sakura took a wallet from a guy's pocket to teach him to be more careful, he was unfairly accused of theft. For these and other reasons, Kotoha believes Sakura made the right choice in choosing Furin, but she's sure he'll never reach the top, and she still thinks he has to forget about it or no one there will take him seriously. After all, the boy is alone in this war. When they touch on the wound of his loneliness, a trigger is activated in Sakura's mind and he starts to seethe with anger, but Kotoha makes it clear before he leaves that he will understand what she's talking about when he meets the members of Furin. On the street of the Amagusa beverage shop, a gang is wreaking havoc everywhere, and the owners of the establishment try to call someone to solve the problem, until Sakura shows up and notices that the insolent guy who got beat up earlier brought some more friends to play on the street. Sakura tries to ignore the gang and cross, but the leader reminds him he hasn't forgotten the name Haruka Sakura, though the Furin newbie forgot his. As they notice the aspect of the boy's hair and eye, All the bullies joined forces to tease him in the way that shaped his life up to this point, with him always being rejected and denied by everyone around him. Faced with relentless scorn, Sakura gave up on being accepted but made up his mind to find some value in himself. So while the gang leader reminds him that the earlier incident wouldn't go unpunished, Sakura punches him square in the nose, even though he was always sure it was other people who wanted to stay away from him. After all, in Sakura's mind, his appearance is bizarre, but still, he never understood what he did to deserve so much repulsion. During this reflection, he lays the smackdown on the entire gang without mercy, consumed by the fury that courses through his veins due to the insults suffered, wondering what the heck being at the top has to do with being alone, especially because there's only room for one at the top, and that one needs to be himself, Hakura Sakura. Devastating his enemies one by one, some of the remaining wrongdoers start to run, while Kotoha, innocently washing dishes, ends up leaving the diner to see what was happening and is taken hostage by the gang. The gangster who grabbed the girl remembers that the Furin never do anything when a rival takes a resident hostage, but Sakura is outraged by the fact that the man brought a knife to the party, so he takes him down without hesitation. He advises the gang to reconsider their choices regarding the type of weapon they use to fight, so the rest of them go after him. There are many opponents at once, and Sakura knows that protecting Kotoha amidst this chaos could go south, but he doesn't know why he's protecting her since he gains nothing from it. Moreover, one of the opponents picks up the knife from the ground and cuts the protagonist's ankle, leaving him increasingly cornered by the enemy's strength until a gangster prepares to hit the boy with his baseball bat. However, just in time, a Furin member thanks the first-year rookie for his help and asks Kotoha not to tell you-know-who that she was in danger. Then this man knocks down the enemy with a bat and asks the gang not to stir up this kind of trouble in the city, while 3 more Furin members approach the commotion. The Furin who had just arrived for the brawl are frustrated by the lack of people in the opposing gang, while the enemies notice that the one in front of them is Hiraji, a feared fighter from the Furin. Still, they feel they can gain the upper hand, so they go after their opponents. The Furin leader, Hiraji, instructs Matsumoto with his mohawk, Kaji with his headphones, and Yanaji with his military-style haircut to beat up the enemy gang. In the midst of the brawl, Sakura is about to be hit by one of the opponents and can't react because of his injured ankle, but Hiraji prevents the worst and tells the rookie to run if he's not going to fight. Sakura gets annoyed and says that was his opponent, but Hiraji makes it clear that he won't be able to protect anyone standing in the crossfire. At this point, the surrounding residents gather at the windows and balconies of the buildings, cheering enthusiastically as if they were in the Colosseum of ancient Rome. Sakura doesn't understand what's happening, so Kotoha remembers, as she mentioned earlier, that this city really was a sewer of gangs and organized hooligans, but something changed that reality, and that something was Furin High School. Upon their arrival, the first thing they did was put up a sign at the city entrance, warning that those who harm others, destroy things, or have malice in their hearts will be destroyed by the Bafurin. Initially, they carried the name of Furin High School, but over time, the residents renamed the group to honor these defenders of the city, the Bafurin known as Windbreakers. In light of this, Kotoha finds Sakura's view of them amusing, thinking they were a bunch of violent crazies, but acknowledges that they were known as such until 2 years ago. But now they are loved and even necessary because the city's public safety is truly garbage. With this reality check, Sakura sees with his own eyes that these guys, even fighting in the streets like this and having this appearance, are loved by the people, not rejected. At this moment, some residents approach to praise the boy too because they saw how he handled himself alone at the beginning of the brawl. An elderly lady worries about providing first aid to his injured ankle, and Sakura threatens to freak out again in the face of all this sudden acceptance, until Kotoha takes over the bandaging and reminds him that Sakura is indeed alone, but not because of his fault or intention. Therefore, she emphasizes that the people of the city need people like him. Sakura replies that he doesn't need anyone, but the girl questions why he returned Mr. Yama's gift or even protected her during the whole fight. The truth is that Sakura hasn't given up on others yet, and he doesn't need to. But to demonstrate the truth in this feeling, Kotoha asks the boy to lift his head and look into the eyes of the people around, because only then can he become what he desires so much. Finally, Sakura accepts the sermon, albeit in his violent way, and affirms that even he is capable of being a delinquent who plays superhero and walks around as if he were the city's shield. That he delivers another kick to the leader of the opponent's face while wondering if he can finally establish some genuine connection, and thus begins the story of a useless, worthless, and hated boy who will become the hero of the city. The next day, Sakura shows up at the diner where Kotoha is acting all crazy, so the girl asks if he's got a stomach ache, until Mrs. Sato pops out from behind the guy after making him carry her all around town. He tells her to get off, but to top it off, the lady can't get out of there by herself. Sakura threatens to end the old lady, and since she's had enough of the young man's tantrums, she decides to get off on her own, driving Sakura even more crazy, especially since Mrs. Sato argued that she couldn't stand up because of her back pain. Fed up with it, he turns to run away, but Kotoha surprises him with 2 egg sandwiches with seasonal fruits because today is his school entrance ceremony. So she asks if he's excited, but the kid is still upset because he left early to take a stroll and ended up being used as a pack mule. At that moment, a weird guy comes in shouting for Kotoha's name until he trips at the entrance and falls flat on the ground. His name is Nurei, and clearly he puts a lot of value on his aesthetic appearance, so much so that he asks his friend what she thought of his look for the ceremony. Sakura points out that the uniform still has the tag on it, and the young man falls flat on his back trying to find the tag. With some effort, he also manages to find the tag on the pants as a bonus, and Sakura wonders how a guy like him ended up at Furin. Nurei doesn't let it slide and replies that he's never seen Sakura before either, so he presumes he's from out of town. Sakura confirms the suspicion, but has no intention of discussing more about his life. However, Nurei approaches and comments on the newcomer's hair and eyes, asking if it's all due to stress. Kotoha bursts into laughter and introduces Sakura to Nurei, explaining that he arrived in town yesterday. As for the vain guy, his name is Nurei Hiro, and he wonders why nobody from outside would come to this place. Then he warns that Furin Academy is not just any school because the Ba-Furin are justice heroes who decided to fight for the city, helping the weak and destroying evil, and everyone who joins this school must carry that same will. Nurei, for example, is part of it and is recognized by the residents, but someone who nobody knows who is ending up in this community doesn't make much sense. So without paying much attention to the provocation, Sakura replies that he wants to be at the top of the school. He agrees somewhat ironically that the Furin are indeed like saving heroes and that many of them are visibly strong, but becoming the most powerful among them is something that would satisfy him. With a serious expression, Nurei asserts that this is not possible, only to then warn Sakura that he'll go bald if he insists on trying. Kotoha laughs again and Sakura challenges the guy to settle it outside, but Nurei looks at his watch and says he has to leave now. Kotoha asks if he's not going to eat his usual breakfast, but he makes up an excuse that he only came to show off his look. Thus, before leaving, he announces that from today on, he'll also be an ally of justice. Then he bangs his head on the door and leaves. Kotoha comments that that guy is quite interesting, but Sakura thinks he's just a bratty kid who bulldozes others to talk non-stop, and that the Furin should be stricter with their members. After all, people who only care about appearance are the type who run away at the most important moment, and there's nothing more pathetic than that. Still on the subject, Kotoha asks if Sakura knows the color of the coffee fruit. In his mind, it's brown, but she says it's red and smooth like a cherry. At first, she thought the fruits were the beans sold in jars, but that's just the seed. In other words, seeing something from one angle doesn't mean you understand its entirety, and that also applies to this judgment against Nurei. Therefore, Sakura should talk to him and try to understand him, because that's how you really get to know a person. So to practice the lesson, Sakura asks if that guy is good at fighting, and Kotoha notes that the guy only cares about getting into fights with others. After leaving the cafe, Sakura reflects on what his friend said, but he still thinks he's right in what he said, regardless of everything. At that moment, a baker offers a fresh bread to the boy, who doesn't understand the reason for this gesture. The baker explains that the Furin are always helping the people of the city, so this would be a way to repay them. Moreover, the baker next to him reminds Sakura that he was one of the Furin in yesterday's fight, and this embarrasses the boy too much to accept the bread, but the baker insists and hands it to him in a bag for him to eat later. Walking through the streets, Sakura notices that the Furin are really recognized by the community and highly respected, but the boy is still not used to this kind of reception from others, so in his mind, the others are the ones acting strange, not him. Remembering the conversation with Kotoha again, he wonders if he too didn't decide beforehand that nobody could look at him like that. Suddenly, a girl asks for Furin's help because in one of the alleys in the area, Nurei was cornered by a gang. According to the leader, he was finally having an interesting conversation with a woman, but Furin ruined everything by interfering. Nurei argues that the girl wasn't into it, but the gang doesn't care and leaves. Nurei grabs the leader by the collar and doesn't let him go. The man elbows the boy in the face, while everyone around laughs at humiliation. Despite this, once again, Nurei grabs the opponent, reciting the Furin motto about eliminating those who hurt others and carry evil in their hearts. The man gets tired of this nonsense and starts punching Nurei to make him let go. But just as he was about to deliver the blow that would make the boy fall, Sakura arrives with a flying kick and throws the guy away. Nurei asks why Sakura is saving him, as well as the other gang members, but Sakura makes it clear that he can't stand weaklings who think they're strong. So the gang attacks the boy, who in the blink of an eye takes down all the enemies. Nurei can't believe what he just witnessed, and when Sakura looks directly back at him, Furin's proud member swallows hard in fear. As the savior was leaving, Mirai questions if he's frustrated to have such a weak companion in school, but Sakura only responds that everywhere there will always be someone who thinks they're more than they really are, and those kinds of people should wake up to avoid embarrassment. Then Mirai tells how he was frequently beaten up in the gym until one day a Furin member saved him. Mirai thought he would be scared of that guy, but Furin was very nice to him, so the boy wanted to be like one of those guys, strong, kind, and helpful. At that moment, Sakura remembers when he said that those who only care about appearance are the first to run away from a fight, and obviously that wasn't the case with this boy. So he tells the young man that there's no use in crying even if he's weak, and in the end, adds that he's not as pathetic as he thinks. Soon, the girl from earlier appears and asks how the boy is, explaining that she didn't know what would happen when that man grabbed her arm, so Mirai saved her. Therefore, she thanks the boy and also Sakura, and as always, the strange boy gets flustered and starts to leave. However, Mirai calls the protagonist back and appears with a notebook, asking about the height, weight, and blood type of the type of girl he likes. Then he measures Sakura at 5 feet 7 inches and guesses he weighs about 132 pounds. Sakura punches the guy's head and tells him to stop being weird, so Mirai explains that he likes to gather data on people he thinks are cool, and then offers to actually show Sakura around the city, showing the people and places worth seeing, heading to the top. Soon Mirai pulls Sakura by his shirt and drags him to Furin High School. Upon arrival, a corridor of Okinawan cherry trees illustrated the place alongside the school flag, until an unknown Furin member welcomes the first-year newcomers. However, Sakura was actually still eating cold bread in the alley corner because, according to him, fighting makes him hungry. Mirai insists on heading straight to school, and after much insistence, the hungry student eventually follows his lead. Actually crossing the cherry tree corridor, Mirai proudly introduces the Bofurin base officially. Sakura looks excited and hopes to find inside people like those who fought alongside him against yesterday's gang. Then Mirai presents the list of names divided by class, and he's excited to see that he's in the same class as his new friend, even though the friend doesn't seem to be on the same wavelength. Taking another look at the list, Mirai sees that Su and Kiryu will also be his classmates, including Sujura. Although he never exchanged a word with any of them, he thinks they're all amazing. However, Sakura doesn't care about who's in his class, so he prepares to enter the school, but before that, Mirai discovers that he will also share the room with someone not so pleasant. For this reason, he asks Sakura to be friendly with everyone in the class, always keeping a beautiful smile on his face. After all, Bofurin gathers to protect the people of the city, so it wouldn't be strange to find a member there who doesn't like outsiders. Taking this into account, Sakura must first prove that he has no intention of harming the city. However, instead of paying attention to his companion, Sakura was stretching because he doesn't know what kind of people he will meet in this place, so he needs to be ready for anything. In the face of this, Mirai insists that the talk is serious because Sakura is an outsider, and any misstep in this godforsaken place, the entire Furin will be against him. However, Sakura once again asserts that he doesn't care about having enemies because he will reach the top through fighting anyway. At that moment, he enters the classroom with a confident pose, and all the other students look directly at him with unfriendly faces. Mirai freaks out at the situation, but the atmosphere seems to please the buddy who accompanied him there. Then, a first classmate approaches calling Sakura by name, and as soon as the protagonist sets the base, Mirai tries to lighten the mood and asks who the dear eye patch-wearing colleague is. Thus, the guy politely introduces himself as Leonardo DiCaprio, but better known as Su, a foreigner who has an eye patch that seals an ancient Chinese spirit in his right eye. Mirai seems interested in the eye chat, while Sakura is sure this guy is making up a bunch of stuff. Anyway, Su assumes a much more serious expression and says that now it's time to talk about this guy Sakura. Mirai thinks prejudice against outsiders is about to start, but Su pats the new classmate on the back and comments that he was the star of the fight on the avenue yesterday. The students around ask what this story is about, so the eye patch-wearing member recounts that there was a fight between Furin and Spaltips, where Haraji showed up with other comrades, but the first to appear on the scene to protect the city was Sakura. This story attracts the whole class closer to the protagonist, who as always doesn't know how to deal with this kind of attention, but at least Mirai is relieved that no one saw his friend as an adversary. Soon, one of the Furin asks what Sakura, who is not from the city, intends to do here, so he replies that he intends to reach the top. Everyone looks at him dumbfounded, and Mirai tries to explain that the guy didn't mean he came to beat everyone up. But when Sakura responds that's exactly what he meant, a table crosses the room, thrown by a student who doesn't seem so receptive. Sakura is satisfied to meet a challenger, but his friend warns that that's Kyotaro Sugishiya, probably the most dangerous guy in this class. Without ceremony, Sugishiya advances towards the newcomer and punches a table that pushes everyone away. but his target is intact and without losing his pose. Hey folks, we're kicking off the new anime season, and if you enjoyed this anime and want to see more of it, go ahead and hit that like button down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We need your support to reach our goal of 70,000 subscribers. Every subscription counts and helps us grow our community. Catch you next time.